Hello and welcome back to the Cricket District Show with myself, Jack, Nikhil and Toby. And today's big topic is cricket in America. We've all had a taste of the experience. Nikhil, I'm going to start off with you. Major League Cricket. You went last year. How was it?
Yeah, man. Major League Cricket for me has the potential to be one of the best leagues in the world. When you look at the sports market, it's the second biggest in the world. We've seen the NFL, NBA, and all those American sports, how much they've sort of blown up. And I think the biggest thing is just that Asian diaspora, West Indian diaspora, cricket-loving people in America were waiting for a number of years to just have a product where they could support. And you guys had a taste of it when you came down for the draft. And I think the sky is the limit for that league.
Yeah, it's really exciting. America is such a good opportunity for cricket to grow. Cricket's been played in America, I think, since like 1850 or something like that. First game being played close to the Empire State Building where that is now. So strong history of the game. Be great to see it back played there in big numbers. The question is domestic cricket. Obviously, Major League Cricket is massive. What's the grassroots levels like? I don't know that much about it. Do you know much about grassroots cricket in America?
Yeah, so interesting. I had this conversation yesterday. People don't understand, but I would say the grassroots cricket in the US right now is ahead of somewhere like the Caribbean, massively. You turn up to a ground on Saturday. I was just in Houston. They're under 9, under 11, under 13, not males, females playing. Throughout all day on Saturday and Sunday, you have youth level cricket being played. Obviously, the standard will take some time, but they're playing hardball cricket. They're playing on turf surfaces in certain parts of the US. And just the fact that you have involvement from that young, I think that was what has them sort of ahead of the curve. And I think that's going to only allow them to promote and produce a lot more talent.
I guess you're right. Yeah, they need the gateway to get into it, and then it'll get better. And what's minor league?
Right. So the minor league was started as it's meant to be like a feeder system. So you have your younger talent, your local players playing in that minor league, and then those that do well sort of gets picked up into the major league. The problem with that is that there's been sort of a difference in the surfaces that they play in. Not every single state in America has turf pitches. And when we say turf, we mean, the normal grass, mud, etc. So a few places have got hybrids in from Australia, have got those, mixed up wickets. And a few just have a cement strip and then they have like an AstroTurf laid, trying to simulate what a pitch would be. But the more cricket grows in America, there's stadiums being built. There's one supposed to be coming in Seattle very soon. The more pitches you will get and the more people you'll have playing. So that's the only sort of disparity in terms of the standard. But just the fact that you have guys being paid to play cricket in America, I think is huge.
I think what strikes me the most is that like the demand is there, right? There's so many people wanting to play cricket in the States. Is the supply of pitches, coaches, accessibility to the game, is that there? It sounds like it is. It just needs to catch up because so many people want to play cricket. We've got a large demographic of our followers is based in the States, and a lot of the questions we get is like, oh, do you guys know if I can play cricket in New York, in Seattle, anywhere other than just a public park, where there's no pitch?
No, there are clubs in America, man, and each, like New York has their own league. It's called the Metropolitan League. Dallas have their own league. Houston, where they're actual owners of these clubs, paying players to come in, sometimes paying the players. Some of them, of course, are not paid. But what I would say in the Caribbean, for example, our youth, we're fighting with basketball, with football, and other sports. You're no longer seeing young kids playing. Whereas in America, it's like the Indian children especially, who obviously are born in the States but have Indian parents or Indian grandparents. That is where you're seeing the most sort of viewership. And that major league, for me, I think it did so much because when I was there and you saw how much children were there at the ground in 100-degree weather, just there to support and just jumping up and loving it, I think that would have inspired a generation of cricketers to come because they would see a Faf du Plessis, they'll see a Kyron Pollard, Nicholas Pooran hit big sixes, and then all of a sudden you have that visualization of what you could almost become.
I think you're right with those names as well. And you mentioned the first time we got a taste of Major League was the draft. I've written a list of some of the names this year. Narine, Roy, Russell, Ralph, Faf, Quinton de Kock, Heinrich Larsson, Trent Bolt. Like, you could just go on and on. Rabada, Rashid Khan, Pollard, Pooran. There's so many names that are attracted to this tournament, and I'm interested to see, number one, why they're interested in playing, and number two, it must mean that first season they really enjoyed it to come back.
So the biggest question I always get about the Major League is the standard, right? Because people are like, well, it's in the US, the local players, there's still 5 in the 11, so they make up sort of the cricket. But the way I like to look at it is the way that they've structured it. The local players are guys who are relocating, right? A lot of them. Some of them are born in the States, but a lot of them are like Shehan Jayasuriya, Sami Aslam. Both of them have played international cricket. Sami Aslam has back-to-back 50s against England in Test cricket. Amila Aponzo played for Sri Lanka. Then there are other guys who didn't play international cricket, but someone like Cornet Dry, 6'7" fast bowler, has 219 first-class wickets. So the guys that are locals are coming in with a lot of experience. So it's not that there's a huge drop-off. Obviously, Russells and the Classens will stand out. But last year, Cameron Gannon took the third most wickets. Natravalka took 6 for 9 in a game, and they're locals. So there's not as big a disparity as people think.
It's interesting when you say about players relocating, because when we went over to the draft, met various players who are in that process. Plunkett, Rusty Theron, just plenty of people like that who are really enjoying the game and must have that belief that cricket can go big there and must be enjoying life in the US. So, like you say, just hope that the facilities become more available, gets more accessible, and it hopefully can grow.
And there's huge opportunity because there's a young batter by the name of Joshua Trump in the US. He's definitely not older than 18 years old. And he wasn't in the Major League last year. His brother was. He has a twin brother. And he just got picked up for $75,000 in the first pick by Texas Super Kings. Now imagine as a 17, 18-year-old, you see that amount of money. It can go both ways, but I just think it's amazing for someone from in the US to get that sort of opportunity, that sort of platform, and that backing. Forget just the finances. It's just an amazing thing that you would probably dream about as a child.
What's his brother's name?
Matthew Trump.
Yeah, I heard that surname before. It rung a bell.
I don't think you can forget the financial side of things as well. These guys ultimately are doing a job, right? They're working in the industry. Granted, playing cricket is a dream come true, but actually if you're supported financially, of course you're going to pursue these opportunities, particularly when your career might be quite short-lived. So I think there's a lot of talk. You asked the first question, why do players want to play in the Major League? Obviously a great opportunity to play in the US, but actually financially it's a really well-funded league, and you struggle to say no to that. And then actually if you're playing for 6 weeks in the States in front of crowds who have never watched live cricket before, it's an amazing opportunity.
For me, the Major League Cricket has changed cricket in the world. The tournament itself, think about 10,000 people in the US who have never really been exposed to that level of cricket coming together. You've got the diasporas all around. So Afghanistan fans, you've got Pakistanis living in the US, Indians. It's one of the most diverse places in the world. Packed into one stadium, just supporting a common game that they love and they enjoy. And it's just the energy, the atmosphere that you felt when you were there. It was just exhilarating, to be honest. It's hard to replicate that because I couldn't believe how many people wanted to actually just come, regardless of conditions. Sometimes it was roasting. Tough for us to do our jobs, and they were just voluntarily sitting in the stands, watching the game, seeing some of the best players. And to be honest, it was blockbuster, the action, the entertainment. And one thing that really stood out to me was seeing how well the highlights did on YouTube, because it showed that while the time differences and time zones didn't really add up for everyone in the world, people were still interested to go the next day and watch over the games. So I think last year was big. This year, the overseas players are a lot bigger. Glenn Maxwell wasn't there last year. Steve Smith wasn't there. Our team is going to be coached by Ricky Ponting. So really exciting times for the US.
What do you think that they need to do to get the same level of passion as something like the SA20? When we were there, we found the loyalty to the team was really strong. Right. Was that there when you were over there? Did you feel that, or was it more of a general celebration for cricket rather than I'm a big New Yorker, I want to support MINY? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it was there, I would say, for one team, Texas. And that's because it was in their home stadium. Yeah. So literally it was, and to be honest, credit to the Texas Super Kings, because every single game, almost every single game, they gave out flags, they gave out
whistles,
bucket hats, whistles. Yeah. They were doing so much to try and make people feel wanted. And one small thing like that can make a huge difference, as you guys know, being around different leagues and stuff. And I think the loyalty that they got with that franchise is amazing. The way I think it improves is when more of these teams build stadiums in their states and with their home teams.
Yeah, that's exactly how they do it. I mean, you're speaking to Seattle Orcas, their ownership group. They're desperate to build a cricket stadium in Seattle. And Texas Super Kings had the luxury of having their own ground, having a home stadium. Imagine is it 8 teams in Major League Cricket? 6 teams? Moment, 6 teams, possibly 8 in the future. Imagine if every single one of them has a home ground. And that's the great thing about SA20, as we saw from the very first season. It was played across every single ground. The fans got right behind their team. And I think actually perhaps similar. I mean, South Africa was crying out for a quality T20 cricket tournament. I think in the same way the USA has been crying out for a brilliant cricket tournament where they get to see the world's best players, quality stadiums, good pitches, and a really good standard as well.
What did you guys think of the draft? Because I remember Stephen Fleming was there, Mihaela J. Wardner was there. It was obviously the first ever, and teams were very eager to get that solid core of local players to help them go forward and plan for the future. What did y'all think?
I think that's what struck me is like we've talked about like the biggest names playing Major League Cricket, but actually loads of local names, like guys who have played minor league cricket, club cricket in the States. All of a sudden they're on one of the biggest stages with a big platform, and you just saw like the delight on their faces, because actually it is a life-changing moment for a lot of these guys. For Steve Smith has made a lot of cash, he's played a lot of cricket, great that he's involved, but actually it means a lot more for some of these local guys who have really worked hard, and it's not easy. There are a lot of people playing cricket in the States. As far as I'm aware, there's some difficulties with minor league cricket and getting enough game time and getting seen and getting scouted. So I think that's what struck me, is the opportunity for local cricketers just as much as the big names.
And I didn't expect to see those coaching names and those big names at the draft in person. And it shows like how seriously they take it. I mean, yeah, it was amazing to see, man. And I think the future is, especially because they have the funding of the IPL franchises, it's just like it's hard for other leagues to compete with them. And that's why I think they're such a force to be reckoned with.
So now my next point comes on to the big elephant in the room, baseball. Obviously, I feel like there is a little bit of rivalry. Very similar games, cricket versus baseball, but we recently had the very cool opportunity to visit Jomboy, and I feel like he's leading the way in that kind of collaboration and crossover between the two sports, as they are so similar. Do you think that they can work in harmony?
It's a good one, because if you looked at the people in the stands at Major League Cricket, there was a large South Asian community, don't get me wrong, and obviously Major League Cricket are right to go after that community because they love cricket and they love watching it and they're going to turn up. The key question for Major League Cricket and cricket in the US in general is, can they connect with existing baseball fans, basketball fans, NFL fans? Can they tell them, educate them that cricket is a great sport and it's worthy of their time? And that's where you need people like Jomboy and his crew, who set up the warehouse games. We went and played in ball in play, this weird combination of baseball and cricket. Absolutely loved it. He's a great example of an existing baseball fan who's switched on the TV, watched cricket and absolutely loved it, and has shared that passion with his audience online.
Well, I would say in regards to your point, from just speaking to the guys at MLC, they're very serious in tapping into that market. And last year they had a few games on the local networks, so the CBSs and stuff, to try and get new faces, new eyes who don't know anything about cricket. And even as a commentary group, we did a lot of activations where I had one day where I compared a baseball and a cricket bat. So you had like the different dimensions, what do they do? And they were throughout the MLC, we had times through the over where you would explain terms, because they understand that it's a huge market to be tapped into. It has to go outside of just the Asian and the other diaspora. It must be new fans. But I mean, when it comes to cricket and baseball, guys, I think the average is like 1 home run every 3 games or something. That could be wrong. We hit 6s every 2 balls. Watch the IPL. So.
Oh, do we?
No, not we.
When we all play on a Saturday, Jack, maybe.
I was going to say, what would the one thing you'd tell baseball fans about cricket? It would be that.
Definitely that. 6s over home runs, because you just get them more.
Yeah, and actually I think it's a more entertaining product. I think T20 cricket, obviously we're existing cricket fans, we're going to say that, but actually we were in the US, we switched on the TV, we watched baseball, didn't really see anything happen for at least half an hour.
But I think it's the same complexity in the rules. Like there's still so many little intricacies in baseball that are similar in cricket. So I feel like once baseball fans start getting their head around it, they'll be like, oh, this is more fun.
The question is going to be, when they make that decision, can they then go and play somewhere? Can they play? Is there equivalent of last man stands or village cricket in the US? That's what needs to happen next.
Yeah.
And then that journey starts.
I think you can even think about like facilities. Is there a way there can be a baseball and cricket field, pitch, stadium? Can they cross over like we see football and NFL stadiums here in the UK? Is there a crossover?
Well, we ran through Central Park when we were in New York, and we saw, I mean, maybe a dozen baseball fields. And it's like, imagine if you just put one AstroTurf wicket there, how much cricket would be played there. There's enough green space in these massive cities in America.
Yeah.
Stick a couple of AstroTurf pitches, let people rent them for a game, see what happens.
It'll be very interesting to see this next few years, and hopefully with the T20 World Cup as well, we can hope that will lead into more engagement. I think the stadium as well in New York is going to be interesting, because if it goes well, will they keep it? Will they kind of try and keep that area as it is, or will it just go?
I heard the tickets are selling at $20,000 US.
Oh my word!
Obviously that's VIP, but 20,000.
Yeah,
That's like NBA courtside, NBA finals prices. Like
that's exactly what I mean about.
Obviously,
like,
that's India, Pakistan.
Yeah, but the demand is there for those games. Like
Yeah.
if you're, someone of Indian or Pakistani heritage who's lived in the States for the last 20, 30 years, you are going to do anything you can to get your hands on a ticket.
I saw a video of the stadium yesterday too. It literally looks like a coliseum. Like it's huge because 45,000 people I think is the capacity. It is massive. So yeah, I'm interested if you guys go to that. Tag us in something we want to see. Maybe we should get an episode when that game comes around. We have to react to that game alone. I think it's going to be like earth shattering.
Yeah, although just quick note, if you're flying into New York, allow yourself a few hours to get there, because I know it's been advertised as it's in Manhattan, but it's a good couple of hours away.
It's not essential New York.
Yeah,
Is it?
it's as close as they could get it.
Yeah.
Fair play.
But when we were in New York as well, I feel like it was really interesting. We ran through New York in whites, making a bit of content. You may have seen it. And we did actually get people stop and talk to us and know what we were doing. Like it wasn't like, it was an immediate connection with cricket. Various New Yorkers and other people that were there for holiday and travel. So I felt like I was like, wow, people actually know what we're doing. But then others also didn't.
That's true. There are quite a few outtakes of that video of me asking people to bowl at me.
And they're like, what?
But I think if you're going to do that kind of thing anywhere, Times Square is the best place to do it,
Yeah.
because they're used to seeing weird stuff.
I'm speaking on behalf of all 3 million Cricket District subscribers. We need more of that content. That was brilliant, man. Toby and White's asking people. I laughed like hysterically. It was very good. Well done.
It was great.
I trained you well, bro.
Thanks,
Found that
bro.
good character. It was Mr. Irish as Stokes and his name all the cricketers.
Yeah, that was good fun.
You heard it here first, guys. Cricket is coming in a huge way in the USA. Don't say I didn't tell you so when it comes around.
Absolutely. And if you haven't seen it already, check out Jomboy Ball in Play. I've actually got my shirt right here, McFlurry Power, and Toby is representing Del Caribe.
Caribe.
So that's all that now on the Warehouse Games YouTube channel. If you like this episode of the Cricket District Show, make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.
You better subscribe to the Cricket District Network.
Please.